Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing well. So it was asked to me, what are some of the key things that fortify yourself to adopting Islam as your religion? And this is a great question, and I'm sure not everyone is going to agree with what I have to say, but I just will be honest as always, and if you think your ideas are better, well, good for you, but that has no effect upon me. So, the concept of Tawheed and the masculine energy of the men, and how you're encouraged to not be a weakling in the religion, and that there's the aspect of patience. So, what I mean is the Tawheed of Allah's Lordship, His worship, and as-sifat, His attributes, right? His qualities. And then the fact that men are encouraged to be very brave warriors who also practice mercy and patience. And this really felt just right for me, because being around very feminized men, it's very disgusting. And we're not allowed to say different kinds of feminized men that are around the society now, but there are women who like having those soft men who they can walk on top of. But me and several other women in the world, I'm sure, like a guardian, like a protector, like an advisor, and we understand that men are valuable, they are necessary, fathers are important, grandfathers are important, and we want our sons to be healthy, good men, and that masculinity is something that should be protected, promoted, and put to the top of many things. And that a feminized, soft, whiny, really just uncourageous doughboy should not be promoted and should not be something to put above the straight, masculine, testosterone filled, righteous man. I understand that with the trajectory of our society in America, that is blasphemy for them. But this, to me, when I really started learning and seeing, yes, it started with the calmness of Mufti Menk, but in his younger videos, not kind of who he is now, even though, he has a different style now than when he was younger. But the style of when he was younger, like his very earliest videos, in the energy of Habib as a martial artist, and then looking at Sahih Bukhari in the book of Jihad, and reading that and the way it made me feel, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool, because men are actually allowed to have multiple women to marry. They can have their concubines. This seems more truthful to what the male character is. And then the fact that our Prophet, peace be upon him, married for legal reasons, to have peace and alliances, but also, had different kinds of wives. And this to me was like, wow, this feels more honest. Because growing up, I started to hate certain aspects of Christianity, because I thought, and Catholicism doesn't let you divorce. They do now, obviously, because of modern times. But before, there was like, no, you have to stay with this person until you die. And if they cheat on you, you have to be a good Catholic Italian and you have to stay with them, and you can't leave your husband, you should stay. And I'm sure other people do that even if they're not religious, but I started to think, what is the lie? Men can't stay with just one woman. A woman, how does she just keep his attention forever? And that's why so many women chase looking young forever, because they want to keep this one guy, and if you lose him, to a younger, hotter woman through adultery, or he gains a mistress, you're being disgraced because he's cheating on you openly and everyone in the community knows. And society promotes open relationships, and it just felt very unnatural to just have one partner. And what happens to all the women who, need somebody? So essentially, for me, polygamy, when it's done correctly, right? Not when it's the Playboy Mansion, hedonism, porn, fake illusion. That's not righteous polygamy. Those are idiots who are spreading diseases and, being lustful little Satanists. What I'm talking about is a man who provides for his family and is very pro-family and has a lot of children and treats the wives justly. To me, that just felt like calming, because as a woman, some women want to be the queen bee. But then I feel like you get to a level of maturity where you recognize after the age of 30, you don't have the same energy of when you were 22. And the anxiety that comes from wondering if your partner is secretly wanting someone else, of constantly having to watch him from other women. And it's just more relaxing if it's more open and honest, as in he has a second wife, you know her face. He has a third wife, a fourth wife. It's more in the open, and if you can get along and treat each other well, you're in a safe environment where there's not going to be diseases and sneakiness and sin passed around, but rather marriage, unity, family, duty, honor. And that really showed me a lot. And then I saw the hypocrisy also of just how the feminists will say, marriage is slavery and open relationships are progressive. And open means you have a boyfriend, but you sleep with whomever you want, he sleeps with whomever he wants, and you just live in the same apartment or home together. So basically, you're not even anything special to each other. And then seeing the insanity of people who are very afraid of polygamy, and meanwhile, they allow their husbands to watch pornography. They allow their husbands to have the 25th surprise, and that is where you are in 25 years of marriage and he gets to go pay an escort for services. And then just seeing how men, even if they had good women, they go to Las Vegas, they go to Miami and they cheat on their women, and it's just like the male nature is being denied when it comes to monogamy. Doesn't mean it can't be done. I just don't believe it. I just feel like it's a princess ideal that's a lie. It just doesn't feel honest to me. So personally, for me, it felt like, okay, I'll use Habib for an example, because this is one of the things that women have to be honest about. There is a man who exists in the world who you would be a second wife, third, or fourth to. That is a fact. Women can pretend like, oh, I would only ever want one guy, and if he ever went with someone else, I'd be so jealous. But I think you're lying to yourself, because women already do that by being groupies, by being side chicks, even though they know there's someone who's married. And yes, that's zina, that's haram. But I'm talking about the principle underneath, as in you like him so much, you just want a piece of him, to be with him at least for a little time. And whatever he does out of your sight, it's not necessarily going to prevent you from enjoying the time you have with him. So for me, it feels more honest and relaxing. If he can pay the rent, he can pay the bills. And I know other red pill Muslim men have attacked me for supporting polygamy, have clipped my videos, edited out the context, and put my perspective on polygamy in the worst light, which is ironic because it is halal, it is okay. It's in the Quran. And so I don't see what's wrong with me, openly talking about how I feel and how I have learned to really accept it and see it as a safeguard for women. So when it comes to people like Habib, I've made that joke long ago. I'd be the 899th wife, right? Basically, it just shows the point of there exists a man who it's not because of fame or something retarded like that, but rather because of their disposition, their behavior, and as well as their looks. But there's something about them that you're like, hey, this is nice, And some women, maybe they haven't had the fortunate example to meet someone like that in this world, but those same women who say they don't want to have don't want to have a polygamous husband, they may be married, but when their favorite YouTuber comes into town or the favorite celebrity, they're secretly screaming. And if he winked at them, they would be feeling butterflies for days behind their husbands' backs. And they know there's a lot of women coveting them, and some of them know that those men are polygamous, but they still feel attached to them. And if that man turned to her and said, I'll let you be one of my co-wives, she would probably say yes and leave her husband, who she's monogamous with. So the dishonesty of denying that polygamy is a good system that is viable, that isn't perverted, it's just that the porn industry has made it that way because they make more money from you paying someone for sex than from you staying in a rightful marriage. And just because some people have failed at it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, because if you notice, monogamy is the norm, and how many people cheat on their monogamous partners and how many monogamous people get divorced? You see what I'm saying? So pointing out that there's failures in polygamy, well, guess what? There's more failures in monogamy. So for me, I thought it was amazing how men are allowed to be warriors. The fear prayer is powerful to me, how you pray with your arms, with your weapons, and you like combining prayer and weaponry and safety, security, and saying Allah loves those. I read in the Hadith in Tirmidhi and others that were Allah loves those who go into the thick of battle, right? This was powerful to me because society has to have straight masculine men who produce children and who care about returning to Allah, who care about maintaining order, who don't want intoxicants, who want to protect women. This is like, it just started feeling really good to me. And I used to get angry I have a more strong disposition, I understand, a little bit more bullheaded, right? So when I would see super soft Mormon guys, sure, they're very polite and very kind, and some women love, very jello type of guys like that. I'm not shaming them for liking a very soft guy, but I'm just saying, when you see someone who can be filled with strength, have good manners, and be brave in military affairs, and who can pray all the time, and who likes to have children and treats all the wives equally, that energy that he's manifested by the permission of Allah, it's so admirable, right? Now, I'm not talking about men who are aggressive with women and they want to harm them if they show their hands. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about guys who have a balance with their actual temper. I met some guys who they pretend to have patience, but they talk like this, and they have a bit of aggression behind their voice. You're like, whoa, this guy is crazy. So I met the fake patient guys who are they pretend to be patient and calm and collected, but they're kind of telling you what to do, and they have this kind of threat to them, and they're like, nah, you're not really patient. And then there's some Muslim men who I've met who I think they're secretly gay, and they're very feminine, or they're very gamma whiny, and you're like, no, that's not it. And then you meet the kind that are like, I'm going to pray, alhamdulillah, and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at this from an American perspective of someone who grew up in a very broken family and who has only seen the debauchery around, men and the failures of men. And so when I see something that is this bright light at the end of a dark hedonistic tunnel, I saw that as something amazing. That was a sign that this religion is true. And no, I've never seen that behavior in any atheist or atheist group. Atheists like the Dawkins, Sam Harris vibe of turtlenecks and thick glasses and scarves. They have a posh, coastal, liberal elite, high tower energy. Or a Lex Friedman, nerdy, coding, robotic vibe. That's usually it. Or they're a fat net beard with a fedora hat and a Slayer t-shirt and drinking Coca-Cola and eating flaming hot Cheetos and being a keyboard warrior. Yes, these are stereotypes, but that intense focus that I got from those types of male examples, That spoke to who I was. Okay? And I never found that type of discipline, character, mannerisms, speech, the calmness. Because being a woman who had to constantly be on the alert from aggressive gang members or strange men, you get an anxiety around men because you have to be strong and you have to be ready to, like, okay, is he gonna knock me out? Am I gonna get assaulted? I gotta have aware, right? And then you get around these disciplined Muslims, you're like, it's a calmness, right? And I'm not saying, that this can't be found in anyone, but with all the groups of types of people that I've hung out with and learned, yes, this is anecdotal, but then again, me choosing this faith is my personal journey. So, this showed me, like, there's a sign in this religion, I believe in it. Now, Tawheed, I can never I can't unforget. Like, how do you put it? When I looked at these books of Tawheed, and maybe when I read other interpretations of Tawheed, I'll have a more well-rounded aspect. But from what I've learned from Bin Baz and those the Sheikhs on Scholarly Subtitles channel, I guess you could say I guess they call it the word Wahhabi. I don't really know the differences of that. But knowing what shirk is and understanding pure Tawheed, how everything is for Allah alone, it felt like all these things that I used to do just seemed so laughable, I really believed in, like, special bracelets and you gotta hang this picture up, because remember, I had a bunch of Tibetan, like, little idols. I mean, I had the full setup when I learned about Tibetan Buddhism. I had a couple Hindu statues and the Ganesh thing, and it just seems so stupid. It just, and even when I see people wearing a cross, which is a torture device, you're like, people feel safe when they wear a cross. And I understand in their faith that is something real, right? They feel protected, they have a link to it. But now, I think if I'm alone in rags in the middle of the forest, trying to avoid getting eaten by a bear, Allah, is gonna be there regardless of any shirk item I wear, and to connect just in prayer. That was real. Like, during the lockdowns, when we got laid off from work, things were crashing down, hackers attacked my business, everything went boom. Everything I had worked so hard to build up was just destroyed. And I felt this real connection to Tawheed, where you just single out Allah. Like, no intercessors, no pictures, no music, no nothing, no idols, both symbolic and literal. Allah being present. Connect. That was very powerful for me, that I can't even put it into words. Right? Me connecting to my maker. That was powerful. And so Tawheed, according to the Orthodox Uthmayin, interpretation, right? And then which that involves understanding shirk, right? That, and then with the masculine, warrior, polygamous, patriarchal energy of Islam, those two things together really opened my mind. And then obviously studying, why music should be avoided and why certain intoxicants should be avoided. This really just freed me. I get it's so hard for people, to understand. When I was a liberal atheist vegan, I know, right? I was one of those. And now who I am today, sometimes it just amazes me. I'm like, how did that huge shift happen? But it was a journey. It really is true that when Allah wants to guide you, you got to go through the flames, man. You got to go up the mountains. You have to learn, so that when you look back, you can say, this is where I decided to change, right? And then the concept of modesty came in as well, right? It was amazing to me how you get to the level, like, you don't want to just show everything anymore. I got tired of it. And then you really start to feel that sense of haya. Now, mind you, I'll still show my face if I wanted to. If somebody falls into the ocean and no one's around to save them, I will take off my niqab. jump in the water and I'll try to save them, right? So, if I ever one day, unfortunately, have to take off my hijab, I'll put it back on as soon as I can. But I understand the connection I have to it. And the connection I have to the drapery and the niqab and how I feel safe in it and how I feel like, oh, I love this, I love it so much. If you would have told me that when I was dressing really sexy to these different, carnival festivals, where I would look at other women and say to myself, like, I'm already in shape, but I would be like, I gotta diet even more. And I already had, like, a perfect body, But I was just like, I have to diet more. I have to stand this way. Just constant Barbie energy was just taking over my brain. And then all the makeup and being, like a Barbie doll. And now it's just like studying, relax, being a mother, being modest. I like the drapery. Totally different energy, man. And it's just amazing. There's more that I could say. But the change of living modesty came from Allah through the religion of Islam. And I know you're going to say, oh, well, you can be modest without religion. Okay, but it's specifically promoted in this faith. Right? And when I used to wear the dresses for the Christian churches, I used to feel very uncomfortable because I was still beautiful. I still felt like my beauty was showing and men would still look like, because you have you can wear any kind of dress and sometimes it has to be a skirt, like Jehovah's Witnesses had a certain dress code. Catholic women had a certain dress code. Mormon women had a certain dress code. And each time I'd wear it, I would feel like an imposter. Like, I would just feel like, I don't like this clothes. And then certain Christian churches would let you wear whatever you want. Blue jeans and sandals, very different. So I got to experience all different kinds of religious centers by going to them. But when I wear the niqab, it's just so nice. And the looseness and how it blows in the wind, it just feels so wonderful. And what it represents, right? I just like it. And I like interacting with the eyes. I like how it forces people to interact with me in a different way, right? And I have really long, pretty hair, and it's just like, it's nice not having women constantly talk about it or, really strange things, it's just nice. I like it. I like how it just really feels spiritual. Let me put it that way, right? It's amazing, So modesty, Tawheed, the element of shirk, and how men are allowed to be brave warriors, polygamists, have discipline and patience and fortitude and courage and fear of Allah and discipline in prayer and giving in charity. It just seems so perfect. Plus, there's many more things I could say. But these are some of the keys to why I chose the faith and why Allah Azza had it connect with me. And I feel like I'm on the right path. I'll still obviously study and nerd out on different topics. But I am bonded to my faith by the permission of Allah. So that's what I could share. And sure, yeah, it's emotional. And is Islam true? I only have access to the vocabulary that I have. And not every emotion, not every thought can be communicated verbally and grasped essentially through my vocabulary. And all I can really say is on the day of judgment, when we all die, we're going to see what's there. Right? We're going to see what's there. And I'm hedging my bets on Islam. Okay? And everything Islam tells me to do, thus far I have seen great benefits from it. And I really feel happy about it. And connected to it. So, that's what I can say. Hopefully, you understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully, trolls don't mock it or feminist Muslims don't get too upset. I don't know. There's always something someone gets mad about. But this is what I can say. Right? And I'm sure other people have their reasons too. And studying Islam before I reverted, really did help because I knew what I was getting into, essentially. And the Quran reading it before I said my Shahada helped me to understand what it is, right? To know when I take this oath, I know what I'm doing. I'm not just doing it because someone in speaker corner with a ginger beard, told me a couple things and then I believe. No. I really felt like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, this is, oh yeah, like it actually allowed me to see, and have an emotional change. So, yeah, that's what I can say. And, studying the hadith really has helped me because you never know what's going to come up next, and as I keep studying, inshallah, I think it's going to get even better, right? So, hope you have a good day, and hopefully you found some of the things I said insightful. And I'm sure in the future, inshallah, I will have more things to say because I'll have even more knowledge, right? So, have a good day.